He's been such an incredible force in college athletics in general, and then specifically he's been so important to Ohio State and our growth in all sports. And I will tell you, in particular in women's basketball, I've never been around an AD who's done a better job getting to know the student athletes, what their goals are, what they want to accomplish, and then inserting himself in how he can help make that happen.
Everybody said the same thing. He remembers everybody's name, what everybody likes to drink, things like that, and that's part of what's made him so special. His successor, Ross Bjork's, had a nice transition period to get to know the enormity of the job that he's taking over. What are the conversations that you've had with Ross centered on?
Really positive conversations with Ross. I mean, I think he's got a great vision for where we are in college athletics. More importantly, where we need to go and how Ohio State can be a big part of that.
You got to see, after your season ended, JC Sheldon, one of the best players in program history, drafted number 5 overall. How special was that for you after you saw her development over the course of her college career?
I mean, I can't even put into words what Jacy Sheldon has meant to our program. She's just such an incredible kid, and what she's done on the court, everybody can see, but the things she's done off the court and how she's represented our program and herself and her family have just been incredible.
Had the chance to chat with her, I think maybe right before the draft or toward the end of your season. As far as just being a great person, I mean, she jumped off the board. And we've interviewed a ton of great people, but she really struck me as someone who basically probably embodies exactly what every coach would ever want their players to be.
Jacy's an incredibly special person, and I just loved having the opportunity to coach her for 5 years. And it has the best, like probably competitive character of any player I've ever had a chance to coach.
It's a bold statement. Your win over Iowa this past year was one of the most watched games, one of the most memorable moments in what was an absolutely phenomenal season for women's college basketball. How does the sport continue to grow, continue to build on that momentum and interest that it has now, which it probably has never gotten to at any point until now?
Well, I mean, I think like we've seen that somebody kind of has to be the face of this growth, and I think that was Caitlin there for a stretch. But we've got also really exciting young players in the Big Ten and across the country, and I think the more we can tell their stories, I think we'll be able to kind of hold this captive audience that we have right now.
As someone who's done this for a while, what is it like to watch shows like Full Court Press or other documentaries that in the past had really been reserved much more so for the men's game, and now the focus is so much more on the women's game?
We have some incredible young women in our sport, and their stories are great, and I'm just happy for them that they're now being told at the national level and people can really get behind our sport.
And now you have the addition of the 4 new schools, including 2 of those young stars, and Kiki Rice and Juju Watkins now joining this league. What does the addition of those schools do for not just the Big Ten, but for women's college basketball to have this collection of talent in one league?
Yeah, no, I think we already had the toughest league in the country. Now you add 4 great programs that really commit to women's basketball. There's no doubt this will be the most competitive league that we've ever seen, and I think it's going to be great for our sport.
How do you schedule, Kevin? I know there's no easy answer to that question because you have to play some tough non-con games as well, but you have an 18-team league and you're going to have some really tough road trips. From a coach's perspective, what's the ideal way to do it?
Yeah, it's tough because the teams are going to be so hard in the Big Ten. The games are going to be so competitive. The coaching's so good. But we will always continue to schedule aggressively because I really believe in finding out early on in the season where we need to get better. And I think the only way you do that is to play great competition.
I know a couple of the topics that are being discussed likely this week, and they've been discussed among the media and the public as well. Tournament location and whether the NCAA tournament and the first and second round locations should be changed. Let's start with the NCAA tournament and the discussion about maybe moving those games to larger arenas as opposed to home sites. What are the pluses and minuses of that?
Well, we've had great growth here recently in women's basketball, so I certainly can understand the conversation around moving them off of campus sites and making them neutral for everyone. I don't know if we're there yet, and I would really hate to see us make that move and it not work and us have to go back on campus. So I think there's going to be a time for it, and when we get to it, I'll be very supportive of it, but I'd really like to see us continue for a few more years on campus just because the environments and the crowds have been so great.
How do you feel about continuing to move the Big Ten tournament to different locations and perhaps new locations that women's basketball has never been to before, especially with the addition of the West Coast schools?
Yeah, no, I think that we should move the tournament around. It's become really popular. We've got a lot of support behind it, and I think with the addition of the West Coast schools, those should be some cities that we should consider as well.
How has your job changed, Kevin, over the past couple of years, and how do you envision it continuing to change, specifically with the transfer portal and the way that it affects not just your program, but the programs you play against?
You know, it's changed dramatically. I mean, we have to put so much time into fundraising, into managing our roster, especially at the end of the year. So there's dramatic changes. Now, at heart, I view myself as a teacher, and I don't want to ever get away from what I'm doing on the court and helping lead our program from a teaching perspective. So I'm hopeful that I always have the time to do that, because I think it's impactful for the way our young women grow in the program. But there's no doubt it has changed, and we do a lot more off the court than we do on.
So how important has it become to be adaptable and flexible, especially over the past 5 to 7 years in college athletics?
No question. You've got to adapt, and as they say, adapt or die. And so there's been so many changes, and just the way things go now are so different that you got to have your pulse on your team at all times. So give you a chance to manage the roster, and then just kind of see what's coming next and make sure you're ahead of it.
I know the unknown can be scary, but it seems like there's a lot more excitement than there is fear with each and every person that we've talked to throughout the course of this week. How much excitement is there for you as you get ready to step into something of an unknown this season?
Yeah, you know, there is a lot of unknown, which creates a little bit of anxiety. But I know I'm at Ohio State, which I think is a great job and a great institution to be around. So however these changes evolve, I think we're going to be at the forefront of that and make sure we put our programs in position to be successful.